Hi everyone, Matt here, and today we are continuing on with HiveSwap FriendSim. When we last left off, we started volume 14. I always forget. And we did Marsty's route. Now we are going Carco's route. Carco Pyrot. Probably pronouncing his last name wrong. Having learned the dangers of using the public thoroughfares, you've taken to dodging down byways and skulking in rear areas, trying to spy out individuals who look ripe for friendship while avoiding the more criminally insane denizens. Just now you're following a winding footpath through the undergrowth surrounding a neighborhood where the local hives are spaced far apart. You came creeping along this footpath for safety. You should have known better. The undergrowth here is like most of the other life forms on Alternia, evolved to ruthlessly purge the gene pool of the weak and the reasonable. Coiled, spring-loaded with stalks, with foot-long thorns flanking writhing bushes with razor-edged leaves, which in turn crowd tentacled flora with toothed lobes oozing liquid that hisses and smokes when it touches the ground. Extreme caution is needed, just as it's needed in every circumstance on this planet. While your time on Alternia has gotten you accustomed to injuries, you still shrink from being impaled on sprung thorns and dissolved in acid. You should have known that eventually you would have come up against the local flora, so you proceed discreetly, avoiding poison fronds and trying not to step on trigger roots. But suddenly your vegetative focus is interrupted. There are footsteps on the path. Then around the corner comes a small figure. Its face and horns are painted with smudged black and white marks. Despite its diminutive physique, it has some of the most impressive horns you've seen on any troll. And then the small figure sees you too, and is so startled it jumps a foot, impaling its horns in the overhanging tree branch and sticking there so that small legs pump helplessly in the air. Honk! Beg the small person's pardon and assure him that you were fully as startled as he. And you go on to explain that you are not dangerous, but that even if you were, you would not want to come to strife with even a small person with horns of that size. Honk! Yes, he will be happy to help him down as long as he promises not to attack you with the many-bladed weapons that are stuffed into his belt, or with a dozen cans of inexpensive soft drink held in bandoliers crossing his chest. It strikes you suddenly that a neighborly gesture, like helping someone whose horns are stuck in the tree branch, can scarcely fail to kindle the light of friendship. You dare to hope that this will be the case now. Edging forward, you get close enough to see that around the small clown's neck hangs a dog tag, or ID necklace. You tilt your head and crane your neck to read the writing on it. Carco Pyrot. If lost, call Branya Yursama. Suddenly, this all makes sense. This Carco Pyrot must have been one of Branya's reject wrigglers who, having grown to childhood under her care, has gone out into the world to seek his fortune. That would account for his small size, short legs, and small stature relative to his horns. You eagerly pull out your palm husk, happy for an eager excuse to pester your old friend. You've got zero signal out here. You wonder if the surrounding vegetation eats palm husk signals, just as it looks like it eats everything else. You disappointedly slip your palm husk back into your pocket. Honk. You apologize for the delay, explaining that you were surprised to find that you appear to have an acquaintance in common, whom you hope you will have time to discuss later. For now, you are ready, willing, and hopefully able to help him down. I hope he won't be offended if you slip behind him first, It's not that you object to bladed weapons or those who stuff dozens of them in their belts, but you feel that the ones he's wearing could ruin your look if buried in your torso, however unintentionally. Reach past the weapons, being careful also not to touch the spring thorns growing at the edge of the path or their trigger roots. Once you're behind Karako, you grasp his horns firmly and pull, withdrawing them from the tree branch and allowing him to drop lightly to the ground. Honk! Tell him that he's very welcome. Then there's a moment of awkward silence as you try to think of something else to say. Fortunately, your new potential friend is not as devoid of the social graces as you are. He gets the conversational ball rolling himself. Honk! Explain that you are indeed a stranger in these parts, and that you actually don't fit into any of the emo spectrum categories. Wild, right? Although not quite as strange as you used to be, you like to think you're really starting to blend in with the local color. Honk? Well, you rather not exhibit your blood right now, just now. You're a couple of quarts low due to the robust conditions of life on Alternia, some of which you have recently had the honor of encountering. Honk. You sympathize. Sinking along these parts or paths in Alternian woods can be tough on the morale. The smell alone is enough to make strong men weep. And the vegetation looks like it was designed by the Marquis de Sade. Not that he knows who the Marquis de Sade is. He can't help but feel that it would be so much better if one only had a sulk buddy. You continue. How wonderful it would be to travel these dusky lanes with a kindred spirit, twin soul, fellow traveler, an intimate crony. You're such an expert on FriendSims now. Honk? No, you haven't met anyone like that either, but you would certainly like to. Your new potential friend is obviously thinking seriously about the issue, so you back off, giving him space. You pretend to be deeply immersed in studying one of the razor-sharp leaves on one of the writhing bushes beside the path. You aren't one to force yourself on others, or try to unduly influence their friendship decisions. Okay, well, maybe you forced on others in the past, try to influence their friendship decisions. Maybe you've even done this a lot. You've recently evolved as a person. You now know that friendship is something that has to come authentically from within. Friendship is spontaneous. Real friendship sprouts naturally from the soil of mutual respect. The best friendships grow and ripen over years, and are not rushed or forced. Of course, you've only known this small person for about 5 minutes, but you have to start ripening sometime. You're reflecting thus on the theme of friendship when a loud skirrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr sound, like a chitinous thing with too many legs struggling in a hot frying pan. Karko jumps so violently that he nearly gets his horns stuck in the tree again. Looking up, you see a floating metal object, vaguely troll-shaped, but huge faceless metal with numerous sets of lightning bolt-shaped horns coming out of its head and neck. It's also not a very sparkling conversationalist. Skirshul, it remarks in a flat, echoing blare. Skirshul elaborates further. Honk! Leap to your proto-friend's aid. You leap to your proto-friend's aid. Thinking quickly, you push Karko against a large rock that juts out of the ungrown nearby and jump in front of him, shielding him from the drone with your body. Then you pretend to be leaning against the rock in an attitude of tranquil repose. Several of the bladed weapons in Karko's belt poke you in the ass. But you don't let this show on your face. Instead, you yawn elaborately, check your wristwatch. You don't have a wristwatch, but you don't think drones know what a wristwatch is anyway. You pretend to smoke a not existent cigarette. Again, you're not giving anything away, because drones don't know what cigarettes are either. But the drone has apparently taken an interest in you, floats down between the trees and undergrowth, and hovers above the path several meters from where you're pretending to relax against a rock after a long day of hiking through scenic, shit-smell forest. It's quite a terrifying sight, actually. Scares your sleep. The drone observes soullessly, making Karako jump so that several of your internal organs are threatened. However, you maintain what you believe the local populace would call a stiff upper whistle pillow. The drone's blank metal head studies you, or could be studying something in the opposite direction, or even taking the drone equivalent of a piss. You can't really tell from its expression, because it has no features to make expressions with. The examination, or non-examination, continues for some time, but your diminutive potential friend is well hidden from view. After a while, evidently concluding that you are an inanimate object that makes unaccountable gestures with its wrists and fingers, the drone floats upward again, gaining speed, till, with a dreary it whizzes off somewhere to find other hapless non-standard citizens to enthusize. When it's gone, you stand away from the rock and rub several sore places that have been pierced by bladed weapons. Turn to Karako to comment on the recent fervor, but stop when you see the look he is directing at you. A warm and admiring look, affectionate and esteeming look, a look of friendship. First impulse is to throw your arms around him and lean in, but on second thought, remembering his pants arsenal, you pull out your hand for a warm handshake. Victory is so close. But before you can seal the deal on this sweet friendship transaction, you hear a disturbance further down the path. God, can't the narrative chill for one single moment? Especially a moment when you're about to consummate a beautiful friendship? Turn to look. The footsteps, several sets of them, get near, and around the bend come three figures. Three figures wearing swimming outfits, lots of gold jewelry, and insouciant expressions. Three features with gills on their necks and small stylized fins on their face. Oh man, is it possible that you finally happened upon a group of the legendary sea dwellers? They stop short when they see you and Karako, obviously startled. They study you. You study them. Then Finhead Interloper 1, in a one-piece and diamond earrings, whispers to her companions, and all three burst out laughing. Finhead Interloper 2, in a violet wetsuit and rings, slaps her thighs, and Finhead Interloper 3, in checkered swimming trunks, folds his sides. Part of you is relieved. Laughter drives out the devil. It's the best medicine, and in any event is better than homicidal mania. On the other hand, this laughter isn't friendly. It's cold, mocking, and supercilious. These sea dwellers are obviously laughing at you, not with you. You notice Karako's cheeks flushing purple under his face paint, and his jaw is clenching. However, he just stares with stony dignity at the interlopers. This just makes them laugh harder. The first sea dweller says, "What are you two supposed to be?" From Castian the Swamp is kid, says her second companion. Colbate Minnow, and his mutated softshell crab, says the third. Looks like the minnow one went down on the clown, causing it to spurt out the other one. Sea Dweller's laugh is redoubled. You continue expressionless at these insults, but to your dismay, Karako's face is taking on a harsh, glowering look. You guess that such a tiny dude has probably been victimized by bullies his whole life, and, as you happen to know, there are no bullies like Alternian bullies. Honk. You tell them to let them talk all the shit they want. Don't let them provoke him. They're trying to get him to do something stupid. If he doesn't react, they'll get bored and go away. Honk! No. Remember that drone? It's probably still around here somewhere. Touch a scale on their head, and you could be rendered into Mother Grub feedstock. Hey, bottom feeders. No whispering when you're in the presence of your bathers. Bathers. And you, little boy. Put a respectful expression on your recognition surface. Be more like your friend, the slender manatee over there. In fact, why is it that you two are still perpendicular? In the presence of sea dwellers, you should be bowed at right angles. The first sea dweller seems to have an affinity for cheesy ocean puns. Bow to sea dwellers. You have your dignity, but you also like not getting killed. Gecko remains supportly upright, his face getting angrier and purpler by the moment. The blade weapons in his belt jingle from his enraged trembling. Blech. Oh, see the little clownfish. He's getting angry. Looks like he's gonna shit his pants. What did I tell you about your face, boy? Didn't your Lucis teach you anything? I doubt he even has a Lucis. Self-respecting Lucis would never let a shrimp like that out of the hive. Unless his Lucis is just as effective. The Lucis cracks are too much for Carico. Ignoring your hissed warnings, he suddenly leaps, snarling into the air. Draws bladed weapons from his belt, each in each hand, and hurls toward the sea dwellers. Honk, honk! Leap into the fray and lend comfort and support. Leap into the fray to lend comfort and support. He would have counseled Carico to turn the other cheek and keep turning cheek after cheek until the sea dwellers got fed up and went away. But now that things have hotted up, you're not about to let down the slide. Carico crashes into the sea dwellers, his bladed weapons whirling like a blender. You scamper close behind him and kick someone in the shin. It hurts your foot, but doesn't seem to have any other effect. These sea dwellers are made of tough stuff, or you're extremely flimsy. Signs have recently pointed to the latter. Your next sortie is more effective, however. Think quickly. You pick up a rock and throw it at the trigger root of a spring thorn growing along the path next to where the violet bloods are enduring Hurricane Clown. The coiled stalk springs out, impaling the dude with a 12-foot-long thorns. He's thrown off balance, and violent blood begins to flow copiously down his body. And that's a hue you haven't seen before. Kinda pretty. But these sea dwellers are made of tough stuff. He yanks the spring thorn stalk away from him, pulling the thorns out, and flings it into the woods. Then he takes out a pocket handkerchief and starts patting his injuries gently. Meanwhile, Carico's blade weapons have not been idle, and the other two sea dwellers are likewise bleeding violet blood. But these bastards are hard to kill. You remember telling you that, as you watch one of them grabs one of the blade weapons from Carico's hand and buries it in Carico's stomach. Dear God. This, unsurprisingly, is distracting for a poor little clown, allowing two of the finny sons of bitches to grab handfuls of bladed weapons from his belt and bury them in various parts of his body. You dance around delivering harmless kicks and curses. Carico is still waving his weapons, but he seems to be waving them more slowly now. Then, as more and more blade weapons are buried in his body, he seems to lose focus. The weapons he's been brandishing fall from his hands. Finally, he falls to the ground in the center of a spreading pool of purple blood. Twitches feebly for a minute, and then is still. Staring in disbelief at the corpse of one who of one who, if he had been spared just a short while longer, would have been your friend, one despised and rejected, clown of suffering, familiar with pain. They had flogged him and mocked him and spit on him, and then killed him. You struggle to come to terms with this. While you're doing that, one of the remaining sea dwellers grabs you by the hair and suplexes you onto the ground. Your head snaps back and pain explodes behind your ears. You're left lying on your back, trying to stay conscious, which is why you have a good view of what happens next. In the dark sky above you, something opens. Something even darker than the sky. A hole, like a cave in the clouds. It widens until you see that in the cave a carousel with wooden horses, mounted on brass posts, rotates. The horses plunging up and down in time with carnival music played by a mechanical organ. Riding the horses are naked store window mannequins, their legs slung awkwardly over the horse's back. Their stiff arms down by their sides in whatever pose they were created, their horns huge and widely shaped. In the darkness above the carousel, other naked mannequins with plastic wings tied to their backs are supported on wires. And above these, in turn, a net of white Christmas tree lights twinkle against the roof of the dark cave, or circus tent, or whatever it is, throwing their dim starlight illumination down on the rotating carousel. As you watch, two of the wind mannequins break loose from their wires and fly down from that dark region into the night sky, and the dimension Alternia occupies. They maneuver until the stiff hands on the ends of their stiff arms are underneath Kiriko. Then they lift him up into the sky and into the dark carnival. Hear a last faint reviving honk as they set him on one of the worn horses. And then the hole in the sky closes, and there is nothing but the night sky above you. All is silent and still again. An odd feeling comes over you. Don't think you've ever felt such a thing, just the reality of how utterly insignificant you are. Sure, you've spent the last few months wandering with no desire, but the desire for connection. And you are, in a way, a being unique in this galaxy. But honestly, what does that even mean? You flit in and out of people's lives. They're 1 minute, gone the next, always moving from friend to friend. You are, for all intents and purposes, a virtual non-entity, a bland point of view vector, a neutral second-person narrator, barely coming into the picture, a retiring entity, expressing only a simple, one-dimensional desire for friendship. But just about now, you feel that things have gone pretty far. And just about now, you feel that you've had about enough. Enough of arrogant high-bloods. Enough, in fact, of short-wavelength chemotypes, carelessly and without compunction, killing and maiming and exploiting those of longer wavelengths. Of a survival of the fittest regime that seems to come down to the survival of the most violent psychopaths. Is this a moral universe? Or is it not? You ask yourself, are repulsive cruelty and sickening evil punished in this universe, or are they not? Does an ethical force operate in this universe, or does it not? You don't know the answer to these questions, but you do know one thing. You intend to depart for once from your one-dimensional persona. You intend to punish repulsive cruelty and sickening evil if it comes within your ability to do so. You intend to create an ethical force field in your local region. You intend to exert some moral gravity right around where you are, if you possibly can. Realize that this odd feeling you are having seems to be drawing moral Higgs bosons out of the moral ground state, and right out of the fabric of this multicolored blood-soaked planet that heaves under your feet. Take on the aspect of Clown's Sarker. Seizing 2 cans of inexpensive soft drinks from where they fell from Kariko's bandoliers, you shake them and pull the pins. Then, with malice aforethought, you direct the twin streams at the sea dwellers. You smell banana and strawberry as the deadly streams play upon them. Already weakened, they fall back with cries under the withering onslaught. As soon as the streams slacken, you take up 2 more cans, shake them, and deal out death to the unrighteous. You smell peach and diet root beer this time, but no pity softens your heart. You wouldn't care even if they were pineapple watermelon you were spraying on these brutes. But these finheads are made of tough stuff. Rallying even in the face of this intense onslaught, they push forward and, seizing some blade weapons from the purple blood pool, advance upon you. Not one step back, you vow to the memory of Carico Pyrat. You stand your ground, in desperation, grabbing some cans of diet tonic water and club soda and opening up your batteries once again, but to no avail. Trident pierces you to the bone, followed by a scimitar, a tomahawk, short spear, so many other blade weapons that the sheer weight of them drives you to the ground, where your red, precious blood flows in moderate streams, mixing with the purple blood of your proto-friend. This is the end, you realize. That you are glad you died in righteous battle. You are glad you created even the tiny, sputtering, temporary moral force field in your local region that you did. You can feel your life and narrative point of view slipping away, but you are content. Yet, what's that you see above you now? A dark space has opened up, even darker than the night sky, and 2 stiff-looking winged figures are descending. They land next to you, gently place their stiff hands under you. Then they ascend once again, lifting you higher and higher into the darker space. As you pass the boundary of the heavenly carnival, your life seems to revive within you, and as the fabric of the place closes around you, and the 2 stiff mannequins place you on a carousel horse next to Carico, you realize that planets, universes, dimensions, realities, powers, principalities, and cosmos come and go, but friendship is forever. Shh. Friendship. Grab him by the coattails and try to keep him from precipitating a disaster. You leap forward and grab Carico by the coattails, or by his belt. You aren't actually sure what a coattail is. Jesus, he's strong. You can barely hold him. It's like trying to restrain a small truck. His legs rotate wildly, kicking up a cloud of dust, and he brandishes his bladed weapons wildly in the direction of the sea dwellers. After a startled moment in which they jump backward, the sea dwellers have started to laugh again, coming up with more stupid insults and fish puns. This is not helping. Carico runs twice as hard, honks twice as loud, and shakes his weapons twice as threateningly. Hey, hey, you shout at Carico, trying to be heard above the fracasses, holding on with all your might and digging in your heels. You have half a mind to just let him go, to pay the sea dwellers back for their insults. You try to keep a cool head. You're doing your proto-friend much more good trying to restrain his wrath. You've now succeeded in wrapping your arms all the way around him, and now you get in front of him, holding him back with straight arms, bellowing soothingly into his face, trying to avoid the blade weapons he is brandishing. It's not working. You can see from the contorted features, the bared teeth, and distended nostrils with smoke coming out, with blazing eyes, that Carico is getting more and more enraged. And suddenly, his rage seems to reach a kindling point. His body vibrates violently, and his eyes grow huge and round. Suddenly, from his body, something like a nuclear blast pressure wave of fear and violence sends you flying through the air like a scrap of paper in a gale. What the fuck? Are you hallucinating? But you can see as you soar above the path that the sea dwellers aren't laughing anymore. In fact, they're screaming in terror and fleeing wildly, blundering into razor leaves, being impaled by spring thorns and burned by pod acid, generally receiving the stern retribution that awaits assholes. Then your head collides with a tree branch, and you are rendered unable to narrate for a while. You wake up lying in the dust. As consciousness returns, you realize that you're lying on the path. As it returns further, that a small, clown, painted figure is seated next to you. Quite calm now. He smiles fondly as he sees you sit up. Honk! Smile in return. You express relief that he realizes you were acting in his best interest, holding him back from the finheads. And now, though largely because of his unexpected bursts of clown sorcery, or whatever that was, everything has turned out for the best. Kirko holds up his arms for a hug. Then, remembering his blade weapons in his belt, sticks out his hand. You shake it warmly. Hey. Run, a drone. Run in wild panic. It's a drone. Even the Alternian badasses you've hung out with have been terrified of the drones. Up close, it's one of the most terrifying things you've ever seen. And it's making noises, which you didn't even know they did, and which probably means something sinister. You race at top speed down the twisting path, focusing your senses to their breaking point to avoid trigger roots, razor leaves, and acid pods. First you hear the pattering of small feet running behind you, but as you redouble your speed, the pattering falls back and after a while is lost in the distance. You sprint for what seems like a lifetime before you finally catch your foot on a trigger root and go flying through the air, barely missing being sliced into 100 pieces of tumbling ham by the barbed spring vine that lashes across the path only inches behind you. You land in the dirt, when knocked out of view, but otherwise unhurt. You lie there, catching your breath and waiting, but nothing happens. No normal smell monster whizzes down the path to impale you. No small, clown-faced individual overtakes you on his short legs. Finally, after nothing happens, you pick yourself up and dust yourself off. You're alone on the path, and no sound of either friend or potential friend or foe can be heard. No birds sing, which is probably good. You imagine that any birds native to this forest probably sing by croaking up putrid sludge, and that the sludge would be poisonous or radioactive. Leaving aside the character of the local fauna, what should you do? Keep on down the path, putting more distance between yourself and the drone? Should you go back and see if Kirko is okay? You waffle for a while, then decide to go back. Sneak back along the path. You sneak a long way. But however far you go, there are no signs of either Kirko or the drone. You don't know whether the drone picked Kirko up and took him away, or disemboweled him and scattered the fragments. Or whether Kirko leapt into the undergrowth and hid, or escaped, or what. One way or another, you're all alone again on this path through shit-smell forest. Game over. Well, that'll be all for this time on HiveSwap FriendSim. If you like the video, like it. If you want to see more of my content, subscribe. Have a good day, and do what you do best.